What is up, guys? Welcome back to Truth and Transparency. Turtleboy says, toss Deez nuts. Anti-slap. We're going to talk about it. Welcome. Happy Monday. Happy Monday night. Everybody got your Borgs out? Got my Borg. Got a cowbell, got a pickle. You're going to be set. Again, welcome in. This episode again is Turtleboy says, toss these nuts, anti-slap. So here we go. Taking us back to a little ditty. Live streamed on May 13th, 2025. Okay, of Turtleboys. I'm going to play you a clip here. Almost a year together. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
My lawyer, who is excellent, his name's Dave Heinlein, and he sued the fake victim in January for repeatedly claiming that I raped her, that I, what else? That I abused her, that I am a criminal, that I am a drug abuser. I think she said I sold drugs, like all this shit, just completely untrue shit. You can't say that. She filed a motion to dismiss, claiming anti-slap. And anti-slap means, how this provision works is that if you are petitioning the government, you should have a right to do that without being sued. So like if she was to testify against me in something, right? And she lied about whatever, like he called me a rapist. All right, so let's suppose I was actually charged with rape, right? And she sued me and she called me a rapist. I couldn't sue her for that because she is a witness for the government. I believe this is how it works. She's a witness for the government, and she has a right to make her accusations, even if, you know what I mean? Like she has a right to make her accusations. But the problem with her is, so she claims that she's filing this motion to dismiss on anti-slap saying that like, I'm only suing her to shut her up because she works for the government, because she's like a government agent. That's how anti-slap works. But that's not why we're suing her. We're not suing her because of anything she said to a grand jury. That's my lawyer made the point. We're not suing her because of that. We're suing her because she repeatedly called me a rapist on her personal Twitter account over and over and over again. And the problem with that is I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anyone. You can't rape the willing. Let's be honest here. And she was always willing. Like there was and it's all in text. Before October 14th, after October 14th, it was all like in writing. And so we got receipts a mile long. We got videos, we got everything. And, you know, she only brought this up because I went to the police to have her charged with wiretapping because she had a Ring camera in her bedroom, apparently, and didn't tell me about it. And next thing you know, I mean, she sent it to me afterwards, and I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, like, that's that Ring camera. I mean, whatever. You know, it's not the end, like, whatever. I wish she said something. You know, I wouldn't have said such weird shit, maybe. You know, like, you know, if you're on, you're on camera, it's a little bit different. And so she tells me about this, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I don't want to make a big deal of it. So I'm like, oh, nice, you know. But then I go to jail, and I'm like, the first thing I'm going to do when I get out of jail is I'm going to go to the police and I'm going to file a criminal complaint against her for wiretapping. I have it on. I have a screenshot of her sending me the video saying, I didn't tell you, but this camera was here, but look at this. This is hot, you know? And it doesn't, I think I responded something like, oh yeah, really hot, you know, something like that. But like, it doesn't matter if I liked it or not. It's still witness intimidation, period. I'm not whispering. Wiretapping. I'm getting my felonies confused. Wiretap. So, you know, I'm like, okay. You know,
what the fuck?
Whatever. You know, so I go down and I tell the police this, and they are like, yeah,
where has this story gone? Okay. Remember Anti-Slap, Turtleboy talking about Anti-Slap in June of 2025. I'm sorry, May of 2025.
Open and shut wiretapping. Yeah, I was just acknowledging it. That was just an acknowledgement that I received it. That's all that was. I like that one. I like that. Thanks, Bukaki. So, I go down there and I tell the police this, and they're like, yeah, this is definitely wiretapping. Cool, got him. And then they're like, we're going to need the video for footage. And I'm like, for evidence. I'm like, okay. So then I try to I have to send it via email, and it won't let me send on Gmail because they have some sort of like porn blocker or something. I don't know. You can't send porn on Google Mail. So, I couldn't send it. And so then I had to go down there, and the fucking deputy police chief had to take his phone out, and I had to take my phone out. And,
Thank you.
He's videotapes my video of me going to work. And I'm like, the whole thing was just awkward, but whatever. It's open and shut. And he goes and they bring it to because it's a felony, I guess he's saying that, brought it right to the district attorney's office. Right. But they agreed that it was wiretapping, and they bring it to the DA's office, and it's been sitting in a fucking desk forever. They don't do shit. You know what I mean? And now the cops have this video of my greatest fucking moves. Don't steal them. Okay. Those are my moves. They're copyrighted. Don't even think about it. But, so they call her up about this, right? The police call her up, and they're like, here's the accusation that's been made against you. And first thing she does in defense, like not as like whatever. So she gets caught red-handed wiretapping me. And as a defense, she says, he raped me. Like that's her way out of this. Was like, oh, he raped me. What? He raped. And so she brings up these text messages from October of 2023 of one night where I went out and with like her. Okay. It's the first night we went somewhere. Like usually I would just go over there and leave. Okay. It was a very convenient in and out, but this time she.
What? This is Tina with What the Fuck Treasures and Services. What the fuck are you talking about, Turtleboy? Again, you want to go to right about the 38-minute mark. Right here.
Courtroom 25, beautiful hall for a restaurant. I have a translator. It was a fucking mess. And then they wanted to take it to trial right then and there. The fake victim in January for repeatedly claiming that I raped her, that I, that I abused her, that I am a criminal, that I am a drug abuser. I think he said I sold drugs, like all this shit, just completely untrue shit. You can't say that. She filed a motion to dismiss, claiming anti-slap. And anti-slap means, how this provision works is that if you are petitioning the government, you should have a right to do that without being sued. So like if she was to testify against me in something, right? And she lied about whatever, like he called me a rapist. All right, so let's suppose I was actually charged with rape, right? And she sued me and she called me a rapist. I couldn't sue her for that because she is a witness for the government. I believe this is how it works. She's a witness for the government, and she has a right to make her accusations, even if, you know what I mean? Like she has a right.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. I just wanted to show you how absolutely uninformed this man has always been. He will always be. What is he talking about? What is he talking about? What the fuck is he talking about? Again, welcome to Truth and Transparency. We started a little bit early. What in the hell is going on, right? What does he even know what he's talking about? He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. This is Turtleboy in 2025 in May, because he wants to tell the world that, oh, Lindsay Gaetani did an anti-slap against him.
To make her accusations. But the problem with her is, so she claims that she's filing this motion to dismiss on anti-slap saying that like, I'm only suing her to shut her up because she works for the government, because she's like,
dude, I fucking love it. I am here for it. Okay. He just does not know what the fuck he's ever talking about, but it's fine.
The government agent. That's how anti-slap works. But that's not why we're suing her. We're not suing her because of anything she said to a grand jury. That's my lawyer made the point. We're not suing her because of that. We're suing her because she repeatedly called me
a murderer. And I'm not. We're suing you because you repeatedly called me a murderer. And I'm not.
On her personal Twitter account over and over and over again. And I'm not. The problem with that is I'm not a rapist.
I'm not a murderer.
I didn't rape anyone. You can't rape
murder anybody.
The willing. Let's be honest here. And she was always willing. Like there was no.
Welcome to the transparency, baby. Love starting off with a bang. There you go. We are not suing her because of what she said to the grand jury. We are suing her because she repeatedly called me something that I am not. What's up, guys? Welcome. Again, this is Turtleboy telling you about his, I don't know, May 2025. He did a live and he wanted to talk about Anti-Slappppp and, so like basically a year ago. And talking about Lindsay Gaetani, and he just doesn't make any fucking sense. So you sued Lindsay Gaetani because she was calling you something that you were not, and the people that you were going around town calling them something that they are not, they can't sue you. I mean, this is his logic. So basically by all of this, right? It's like, no, because I'm over here doing stuff. I'm petitioning the government. I'm petitioning the government. Well, let me ask you guys a question. Since he didn't cover the Karen Reed case up until at any point, he says, I did not cover the Karen Reed case until April of 2023. And specifically whenever, he wants to say that he first did that, great, awesome. Well, he also didn't make a blog, though, prior to that. Okay. So I really want us to talk about this timeline. He had no opinions of the Karen Reed case until Karen Reed and her attorneys told them these are our opinions of the Karen Reed case. So is it relevant that prior to April of 2023, that Aidan Kearney never came out and had his opinion about the Karen Reed case? Because as you look at his lovely filing here, plaintiffs have now sued Aidan Kearney for his speech and activism around the O'Keefe killing and the Karen Reed case. Funny that he does not say in any of his little declaration and his little affidavit the reasons that he did what he did. Never once does he say that I did what I did for justice for John O'Keefe. Okay. So go check out his affidavit and you're going to see the three things that he says on why he did what he did. None of them say John O'Keefe, justice for John O'Keefe. So all this talk from the beginning about it's justice for John O'Keefe, free Karen Reed, and then it's justice for John O'Keefe. That's funny that it did not make his affidavit. Just so we're clear. So you are allowed to, it grants you civil immunity for the exercise of the right to petition the government. Yep, the government. Its protection extends not only to statements made directly to government bodies, but those made in connection with ongoing judicial proceedings and statements reasonably likely to enlist public participation. Okay. There's a difference between public participation and internet drama followers. in my opinion, right? And Aidan Carney, who has been saying for months upon months that he is not the reason that anybody knows about the Karen Read case. He's been saying that over and over. I'm not the reason that people know about the Karen Read case. Then we get our hands on his anti-slap, and it completely changes. As explained below, the anti-slap law requires dismissal of all of plaintiff's claims against Aidan Carney because they are based solely on his petitioning activity. And plaintiffs cannot prove by a preponderance of the evidence that his petitioning was devoid of any reasonable factual support or arguable base in law. Well, this is all going to come down to a timeline, in my opinion, on when certain people knew certain things. As far as Colin Albert goes, Auntie Bev said that Colin Albert was not able to be sought after for third-party culpability in the second trial, right? And basically, Karen Read's defense team, they abandoned third-party culpability and didn't even try to bring it back up in trial one. I don't know who's rewriting history here, but I sat through both of those trials every day. I didn't just run it and stream it and say, here, guys, come here and chat, and I'm fucking out going grocery shopping and shit like that. We covered both cases, and not only did we cover both cases, but we went through like almost every single motion that was filed in this entire case. So my question is in the Karen Read case, John O'Keefe is, no longer with us in January of 2022. Aidan Carney does nothing all of 2022. Aidan Carney does nothing in January, February, March. And he does not do anything until after talking to Karen Read / the German, as I think he says, and her attorneys. And in this lovely, I'm going to use Hector here, in this lovely filing, I'm just curious because to say that Aidan Carney based his opinion of this case off of the evidence, that's absurd. What evidence was out there other than the fact when the defense drops down the 70 pages in that motion? I mean, he literally wasn't covering it at all. He didn't have an opinion. And if you actually want to talk about an opinion that he did have, it was that Karen Read struck him. But that it's questionable, like, would it be murder? Is it, you know what I mean, about that? So Aidan Carney's investigative reporting and video streaming content. Aidan Carney is a writer, an investigative reporter, and video content producer known as Turtleboy. That's what he put in his affidavit. They talk about some of his best known work in 2017, talking about the Massachusetts State Police and his basically like I don't know if he says ex-girlfriend, but Aidan Carney's website and videos comprise a mixture of investigative reporting, analysis, opinion, and the kind of abusive and the language that is quote unquote a hallmark of political speech under the First Amendment. Like many other media outlets, TV Daily News features advertising. Yep. Aidan Carney also requests donations and sells merchandise to support his work. The plaintiffs allege that in April of 2023, Aidan Carney began receiving information through the intermediary of Karen Read, which was Natalie, that the defendant in a pending murder case in Suffolk Superior Court. Read had been charged with killing her boyfriend, Boston police officer, by backing her car into him outside the Canton home of Boston police officer Brian Albert. Let me ask you guys a question. Has Aidan Carney ever addressed the fact of what his opinion is on Karen Read's black box showing that it went 24 miles an hour in reverse? For example, in the Mackenzie Shirley case, this black box showed that the car was traveling, 97 miles per hour, 98, and it only has a 4.5 second amount of data. It was found in like literally pieces, in half. But there was no ever touching the brake. And so here in the Karen Reed case, you have this black box. And Aidan, I know, went over to 34 Fairview, took his Lexus, and then attempted to go backwards and see how fast he could go and how fast he could get it up and all these things, right? He claims that he couldn't replicate it, okay? That he lost control of the vehicle. And you know what also he claimed? If you watch the video, he literally starts veering off to the right onto the yard because he goes up over that curb. And he's like literally closer to the flagpole than being actually on the road. But are we going to really sit here, and why isn't anybody addressing, and he didn't address when you want to talk about the evidence, why does Karen Reed's vehicle say that it went in reverse at 24 miles an hour? And it's all off of key cycles, right? And that just so happens to be right before then the digital evidence shows that the phone literally stops moving. Now, we've all said that the Trooper Paul testimony is absolute joke, and it is. Trooper Paul should never have been testifying and doing any of that shit. I totally fucking it's laughable. But now let me just explain something, and I want you guys to think about this. In the Mackenzie Shirley case, in her, it wasn't available for everybody to watch, so we had to go get the transcripts. Mackenzie Shirley did not even have anybody to combat basically somebody like Trooper Paul. And so could you imagine what would have happened if nobody combated what Trooper Paul said on the stand in trial 1? Because that's just what it is, whatever Trooper Paul said. And there's no Alan Jackson, and there's no lawyers, there's no then experts defending against that or showing that, hey, it could have been this or that. I mean, there's no poking at holes. There was no other expert. That's what Mackenzie Shirley was up against. She didn't have anybody. She literally had no witnesses, no expert witnesses. To talk about a crash that if you're going to be going at 100 miles per hour and smashing into the wall, how could you ever expect to live yourself? Anyways, here in this case, he immediately goes out there and he tries to replicate what, like her car going backwards at whatever the miles per hour is. And he's like, oh my God, you would lose control of the vehicle. Okay, well, he also didn't do it when there was snow on the ground, when it was slick. But when you would lose control of the vehicle, it also went to the right. But he was just simply saying that didn't happen. And I'm just like, what do you mean it didn't happen? It's a piece of digital evidence. So you're just saying that that's wrong. Like, it did happen. You would just kind of want to point out when that would have happened in the sequence of her day, more or less. Okay. Because right here on April 18th, Aidan Carney published a blog about the headline Can't Cover Part 1. Now, this post they call it a post, is 70 pages long, including photographs obtained through Aidan Carney's reporting efforts. Aidan Carney's reporting efforts would be Karen Reed, right? And then there was stuff that wasn't publicly filed, right? And he posts this, and it's 70 pages, and it includes photographs obtained through Carney's reporting efforts and screenshots from court pleadings and exhibits. Contrary to plaintiff's allegations, Aidan Carney wrote the post himself. Well, I'm over here wondering, why do you even have to bring that up? Why would it matter? Contrary to plaintiff's allegations, Aidan Carney wrote the post himself. Its content was not funneled by Reed. Do you know how many times we have Aidan Carney saying that it's funneled by Reed? Now, in part one, this post, Aidan Carney sets forth the Commonwealth's theory of the O'Keefe killing. No, he doesn't. He doesn't set forth the theory. This is just page 4. In part 1, he does not set forth the theory of the Commonwealth. Definitely not all of it. And the evidence supporting it. Really? Alongside information from the defense's discovery, Exhibit 3, based on his assessment of the evidence. He hadn't even gone out to do anything. He didn't assess the evidence because April 18th, he hadn't gone out to the crime scene. He hadn't done anything. How was there any assessing? Now you're going to have to talk about like some timestamps here. When did you get this information? What information are you talking about? We don't even know who your sources are, but when did you begin writing this? If you're assessing something, you can't just get the information and then, do you know how long it takes to vet somebody's fucking story? If you come to me and you write me an email and you want me to look into your mom's case or some shit like that, okay, or your brother's case or whatever the fuck it is, okay, I don't just write that night or do a live that day and I'm just over here, woo. No. So I'm laughing here. Based on his assessment of the evidence, he didn't assess shit. And you know what I have him saying in a video because he commented to what I was saying that this motherfucker did not know shit about this case? He comes out and he admits it in a video. Because he refuses to play any of my shit to his audience, you know, because it has to be all drama and it cannot be about the facts. I was like, this man did not know anything. There was no assessing evidence. And so based on his assessment of the evidence, Aidan Carney concluded that O'Keefe was violently beaten to death by persons inside Brian Albert's house who then hatched an elaborate plot to frame Reed for killing him. No, that's Karen Reed's entire work product since January, February of 2022. But I'm over here asking myself, why the fuck would it matter? Why would it matter? Let's say that Karen Reed wrote the whole fucking thing. Who cares? What would it matter? What are you trying to get in front of that it would matter down the road? Or for your argument? Think about it. Then says, as evidence, Aidan Carney cites two damning facts set forth in the defense motion for discovery. No, those would be allegations. Anything that was ever put into a motion is an allegation. What do you mean the facts? Those aren't facts. So, I mean, literally, I'm still on page 4 here. As evidence, Aidan Carney cites two damning facts set forth in the defense motion for discovery. Those aren't facts. Those are allegations. These include that Brian Albert's sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, who was present at Albert's house, had searched house long to die in the cold at 2:27 a.m. on the night O'Keefe died. That would be an allegation, right? Long before O'Keefe's body was discovered at 6 o'clock that morning, Aidan Kearney reported that McCabe had taken steps to purge her phone on this inculpatory search. Well, guess what, guys? Just go get yourself the it is in a criminal justice book, textbook, just came out. Go get the Truth Line. Chapter 5.2. How bad can it get? And it is an entire subchapter dedicated to the fuckerage of the Karen Read case and shots fired at how all of that was handled. And it's the backing basically of Jennifer McCabe and her phone and the data, and that and he explains it, Cyree explains it very, very amazingly, because he breaks it down for like a kid to be able to understand. That shit should have been sorted out, and this is how we've gone about it, and certain pieces can't speak for certain pieces, and these artifacts, long story short, multiple people then have done X, Y, and Z, and that search never happened. There was a glitch in Cellbrite, period. That's the fact. So now O'Keefe's phone, I'm sorry. So Aidan Kearney reported that McCabe had taken steps to purge her phone of this inculpatory search and to delete her communications with Brian Albert. O'Keefe's phone, Aidan Kearney noted, had quote unquote tracked him walking up and down ... stairs. That's not what the fuck he ever said. He says that. He just points out that there's stairs and there's flights of stairs and whatever. He says that, yeah, that's when John O'Keefe was getting kicked up and down. Like basically he was being pushed and kicked and tumbling downstairs. Well, I don't know who gets kicked down basement and says, hey, motherfucker, we're not going to kick you up there because now we have to get another flight in. So you got to come back down, because there's no such thing as whenever you're going down a flight of stairs, it doesn't register as that. You only have to go, it has to when you're coming up. So there's that for you. He says if he was inside Karen's car or lying on the ground outside the house, in quotes, as the Commonwealth alleged, like there's just no movement here. 12:20 to 12:32. He's saying between 12:20 and 12:32, movement that would have been impossible if he was inside Karen Read's car or lying on the ground outside the house, as the Commonwealth has alleged. Aidan Kearney also reported that in the morning after Canton police arrived, Brian, veteran Boston police officer and trained first responder, didn't even come outside despite the fact that a crime scene was unfolding on his property. Everything that he said in his first article was all of Alan Jackson's arguing points in the motion. There is not a single solitary thought that was put into his 70 pages that came from him. He was getting shit wrong all over. They had made how many, edits. And if it's his thoughts and his opinions and what he believes the evidence says, why are you even entertaining somebody telling you that you need to change this, that, and the other? This is blasphemy. Aidan Kearney then argues that the reason that he had to write part 2 is because he was responding to the commenters who were criticizing him for part 1. I said, what the fuck? That is not what part 2 was for. Unbelievable. In part 1, he says the person most responsible for the cover-up, Michael Proctor. Well, Aidan, why? How could you not uncover that this man was a racist son of a bitch? You have all these sauces, and you were not able to figure out that this man is the most and vile, biggest piece of shit ever. And Sean Goodwin, that's because you didn't do any public requests. That's because you never put any FOIAs in. You didn't go back and take a look at Michael Proctor's track record in other cases. You didn't pull up other cases where Michael Proctor was a lead investigator and what work has he done? You did no digging to further the petitioning of this man. How could you not, like, he didn't even know what FOIA requesting was. We all know how Twitter works. We all know how even YouTube works. We know how you can use the @ symbol. We know that you can like tag people. So Aidan Carney, according to his lawyer, says, then makes a direct plea for government action. And this is how the government action is coming across. Trooper Proctor, Brian Albert, Colin Albert, and Jennifer McCabe should all spend significant amount of time in jail. And 2 of them should be charged with murder. The Canton police chief and deputy chief should be fired. Every other person in that house should be charged with obstruction of justice as they witnessed a crime and never reported it. Every minute wasted on the prosecution of Karen Read is time, money, and resources that could be spent investigating and charging the people who killed John O'Keefe. It is an absolute joke and a disgrace that this politically connected hack of a DA is pursuing this. He should resign immediately and hand over this case to competent individuals. And he said, Aidan Carney then calls on his readers to email michael.morrissey@state. And da da da. Did Aidan Carney ever email Michael Morrissey? Where's that as an exhibit of him asking questions upon him? These posts mark the beginning of Aidan Carney's years-long and ongoing campaign of investigation, advocacy, and petitioning surrounding the Karen Read case. Next is Aidan Carney's petitioning spawns the Free Karen Read movement. So we've been hearing nothing but the fact that nobody knows about this case because of him. People were already out there. He wanted to go on that little tangent. Ready for this? To then hear part 3 of this fucking anti-slap. Aidan Carney assembled at least 200 individuals to participate in a rolling rally through Canton focused on the case. Do you know how long he was saying that wasn't the case? Now it's the case. After 500 people joined Aidan Carney at a protest in front of the courthouse on July 25th, 2023, he published an article asking his readers to continue to speak out. Now, here's a question. Why would Aidan Carney have to lie about his relationship with Karen Read, the attorneys, right after they launch to ask America and actually the whole world, because whoever wants to donate to it, to raise money for $1 million defense fund? Literally what happened at that rolling rally was he went to people's homes, their addresses, and he made the mistake of making a comment about, hey, yeah, let's pressure Juliana Nagel's neighbors. This is about pressure. This is about getting the neighbors to get on them, get pressured. That's conveniently not mentioned. He said, soon Karen Read will be a household name across the country, and we are responsible for that. It has put public pressure on the DA's office and Judge Canone to remind them that there are millions of us watching their every move. We will not allow them to frame and prosecute an innocent woman for murder while her killers remain free. Well, I don't think that Karen has any killers because she's alive, but I think that's a typo. We will continue to make our voices heard until there is real justice for John O'Keefe. And then I'm just inside disgusted because not even in his own affidavit does he say that justice for John O'Keefe was part of this. Now, then I highlight Kearney undisputedly inspired hundreds of people to protest in front of the courthouse every day during Reed's 2 trials. Protest? I never thought I was there to protest, but when I was there to to support Karen Reed. Everybody that I always saw there, I didn't see them. It was as far as being outside the courthouse, I never saw that. I saw it just in support of. But anyways. Turtleboy was the reason there were people outside the courthouse every single day, chanting "Free Karen Reed" and wearing pink as a symbol of their support. During Reed's second trial, he drew protesters from as far as California and Georgia, and they stopped to take pictures with him. After Reed was found not guilty, Aidan Kearney stated that he would, quote unquote, like to think that some of the evidence that was presented to the jury in court was a result of his journalism and his influence and his activism online. What evidence? What evidence? What evidence did he provide? I'm just curious. What evidence did he provide? Please, I'm curious. What evidence did he provide? Remember, it was Karen Reed that hits up Aidan Kearney and says, "I want you to run a plate." He didn't find that anybody was at Jen McCabe, that whole hanging out with Proctor House and doing all that shit. That Karen Reed asked Aidan Kearney to run a plate, and then he hits up this girl. This girl does this, and then he provides that information back to her. Boy. We know that he didn't find Lucky. I just mind blowing. Let's go to. Okay, observers of the trial shared plaintiff's assessment of Aidan Kearney's central importance in driving the public discourse about the Karen Reed case. See Exhibit 7. Brad Patrician's Turtleboy factor. As Karen Reed trial starts, Holden bloggers' influence on display. Then there was Catherine Elton, Free Karen Reed blogger. Turtleboy will not go quietly. Boston Magazine, May 19, 2024. Exhibit 9 is Chris Heath. Turtleboy will not be stopped. The Atlantic, March 10, 2025. And then I see Exhibit 10 is the affidavit of Rita Lombardi. And affidavit number 11 is the affidavit of Paul Christopher. Then we move on to number 4 here, which is Aidan Kearney's writings lead to a Canton special town meeting and an audit of the Canton Police Department. Kearney's activism did not just inspire protests, it encouraged Canton residents to propose, vote for, and implement a measure to bring increased oversight to the Canton Police Department. Aidan Kearney went to the Canton town meetings to literally harass fucking Chris Albert. He was flicking him off the whole time. Other people actually did the government petitioning. Well, he acted like a goddamn fucking clown. Other people were actually doing government petitioning. But his acts, that's not what he was doing. He was doing everything for show to make money. And why do you think he flipped out on Karen Reed and Alan Jackson and did the whole wiretapping gate? Because he cried like a little baby and he wasn't getting his way. Because what do you mean you're not going to do my documentary? Like, what do you mean we're not going on tour together? What do you mean? Blah, blah, blah. And then said, okay, here, watch this. I'm going to send you guys a little piece of, remember what I have. I have all you motherfuckers recorded, and I'm going to take all of you down. And I don't care if I blow off my own dick. So I'm just like, wow, wait a second. Aidan Kearney went there and acted like a clown. There's been an issue from what I was understanding when I visited Canton, that there had been a long issue with how the Canton residents were looking at things, and that there had been issues for a while. So in direct response to Aidan Kearney's coverage, residents began to speak up at meetings of the Canton Select Board to raise questions about the honesty and professionalism of the Canton Police Department. This man never even streamed the Canton Board of Select meeting nights. The young jerks did. Before its meeting on September 26, 2023, we're skipping over here how he went to a lacrosse game, how he's out on these lives, like threatening people, saying that your life is over and nothing is ever going to be the same. And I'm over here just wondering and asking ourselves, everybody is cloaked with you are cloaked with an innocent. Like, here you go. Here's your veil. You are innocent until proven guilty. Okay. So petitioning the government is one thing, right? But violating other people's civil rights, I have the right to be seen as innocent of anything, right? But he sounds like a complete hypocrite when you're going to go at the witnesses, right? Or at just anybody, and accuse them of murder and say that they're murderers. You don't think that Colin Albert can show how he was, you have to show how you were harmed, basically. Colin Albert didn't play football and didn't go to college and left. Crazy. Before its meeting on September 26, 2023, the select board suspended the open comment portion of future meetings to, quote unquote, allow emotions to cool. The people were fighting. People were fighting. Spectators showed up anyway, some with tape over their mouths and others with signs reading "Justice for John and Karen" and "Stop Corrupt Officers." That's not what the fuck Aidan was doing. Aidan's peer review has always been targeted harassment. Yeah, that's his MO. He tries to attack who he thinks is the weakest link. Okay. And he tries to attack people that he thinks is weak. And that's why I'm like laughing at someone like a Tom CPU. Tom, he fucking he blogged about you, motherfucker, and you had him pegged. And then you got so scared because, I don't know, the girls in the chat weren't talking to you, like, so pathetic. And you're just like, you tucked your dick in between your legs and, hey, take me back, Turtleboy. And I'm just like, you know him better than anybody. You called him out. And what does he do to try to shut you up? I'm going to blog about you. So on October 27, 2023, in response to the criticism, began by Aidan Kearney's reporting, everything is just basically they're trying to say that, hey, everything that's happened here is because of Aidan Kearney. And this whole time, Aidan Kearney's saying that none of this is happening because of me. And we're going to get into Aidan Kearney talking about Martin Luther King. The Canton Select Board announced October 27, 2023, that it would conduct 2 reviews of the Canton Police Department's operatives. This was October 27, 2023. Motherfucker has already been arrested. According to the Canton Citizen, both reviews have been the subject of numerous residents' requests as select board meetings following the death of former Boston police officer John O'Keefe. We have heard the individual concerns of our residents, all of this shit. Rita Lombardi states in her affidavit that she was spurred to take action to propose the audit because of Aidan Carney's reporting. In an article on November 10th, Aidan Carney encouraged every citizen of Canton to be at Canton High School on November 20th for the special town meeting. Vote yes on the audit and bring as many friends and family members with you as you can. On November 20th, 2023, the special town meeting voted 903 to 800 to approve the warrant article despite the unanimous opposition of the select board. You guys, it was that close, 903 to 800. I didn't even know that. Holy shit. Like, dude, 903 to 800 is not some fucking landslide. That's 50 fucking people. Because 50 people don't vote and vote the other way. It goes down to 850 and it goes back up. The 800 goes up to 850. Only 1,700 people came out to vote for that. How many people live in Canton? I'm sorry, maybe I'm just like, how many people live in Canton? Next is number 5, is each of the articles and videos identified in plaintiff's amended complaint was part of Aidan Carney's petitioning campaign. How the fuck can you even write that sentence? But I get it. Hey, 8 for effort here. Totally, Jeff Pyle. You can only imagine how much it cost you to do this, right? In their amended complaint, plaintiffs identified 37 alleged defamatory publications that Aidan Carney published about them, consisting of 14 written statements and 23 alleged defamatory videos. A list of the articles and points identified as defamatory is set forth in Exhibit 16. And it's part of the affidavit of Jeffrey Pyle. The written publications that the plaintiffs identified as defamatory are attached to the Pyle affidavit as Exhibits 3 and 4 and then 17 through 28. The videos identified they spanned 58 total hours. Certain petitioning related segments of these videos are summarized in a chart attached as the Pyle affidavit as Exhibit 28 with available hyperlinks to the videos. So we can only imagine who worked on this. That were hyperlinking the videos. And here is where I say, so let me get this straight. You get to talk about for 3 hours on a live. And because you say one sentence, which says, email meatball. Then it all becomes petitioning. Sorry, no way. Lana, thank you for opening my eyes to this piece of shit. The Beehive says, but I believe Karen Reed is 100% innocent. Absolutely. Hey, this is not about Karen Reed. And I'm so glad you wrote that, The Beehive. I truly appreciate you. You're good peeps. Okay. Absolutely. Do I think that cops like Proctor and fucking, you guys know how I feel about cops. Come on, man. I give them, I have a very short leash for anybody that is in power positions. Okay. That, teachers, principals, anybody that truly has some authority. Obviously cops, DAs, prosecutors. You guys get it. These are supposed to be stellar people with character. Okay. And you kind of wonder, like, when cops get hired, they're just such fucking dicks. like just Frumsters and just you wonder to yourself, how the fuck did you ever get hired to do a community type of a job? To build community trust and stuff like that. It just like doesn't vibe for me. But people think that that two things can't be true. Meaning Proctor and Sean Good and the entire investigation is absolute dog shit. But let me tell you something. It's actually dog shit for the witnesses too. Because if they would have done their job, then none of this would have been the way that it was. This interview, like not interviewing and recording the witnesses. John McCabe didn't say, you're going to fucking interview me here and I'm not coming down to the station. That was Proctor's doing. That was, they're supposed to bring them down and they're supposed to, make that mandatory for them. I mean, and also like, you don't have to, right? You don't have to talk to a cop. So if they don't want to come down there, no, I'm not going to talk to them, but they don't have to do that. And so it's just like, think about though, if they would, and they would have recorded it. Karen Reed's team saying over here that when Proctor's reports opposite of what we have proof of, hey, the car was towed away at 4:30. He's writing down 5:30. But how about when Jennifer McCabe or Matt McCabe or anybody else wants to say that, no, Proctor got that fucking wrong, dude. I didn't say that shit. You're not going to believe that? I believe that in a heartbeat. You know why? Because the guy is a fucking slop tart. He sucks. He sucks as a human being, but he actually sucks at his job. And he should have been so far away from ever working with people and having his views and his completely warped. Okay. But Proctor and them doing things that way, same thing with the clothing, not running an investigation, like the chain of custody. What the fuck are you doing? And everybody thinks that it was for, to help these witnesses. How the fuck? Maybe it was actually to help a cop. Maybe there was another cop outside that house. This whole Blizzard party. Cops help themselves. They help each other. So it's really imperative to understand that if these dudes would have done what they were supposed to, I truly think that, you can think that why X, Y, and Z would have happened, but honestly, then we would have had recordings, and you don't think someone like a Jen McCabe would want that? You think that Proctor, without recording anything, taking notes, you think he got it all right? Fuck no. Neither did that other dude. That's nuts. So the cops, in my opinion, are fucking everybody. They're leaving the Commonwealth witnesses out to dry. So I just think that we need to look at it that way as well. But at the end of the day, if cops are acting shady, there's two things going on. We act like cops are really good at their jobs and that they're really smart people. Michael Proctor is a dumbass, like a legit dumb motherfucker. And then you mix dumb motherfucker with somebody who has no moral compass, and everybody's going to get fucked. Karen Reed, and then these witnesses. For all we know, guys, more people were there, or more people were on their way or coming over, and they just parked their cars or something like that. Who the fuck knows? Who knows if John was about to cross through the threshold, but he doesn't, and then he runs back because he was going to just tell Karen just to come now or some shit. She's driving off, but really that wouldn't take 10 minutes. Nothing to do with that timeline makes any sense to me. And who was right there to maybe meet right into him? Why didn't Karen Reed tell Aidan Carney about Higgins? Hello? He never once went at Higgins. Very strange. Wasn't right there until the end. So I don't know how you could possibly sit here and say that you're petitioning acts. I'm petitioning the government, right? But who makes you, how do you, who died and made you God and king to say that you get to rob people of their civil liberties? Just like Karen Reed should have been robbed of her civil liberties, okay? He doesn't get to go running around and just doing whatever the fuck he wants to do. And if this was like his first case covering it, and like he tried to portray to Andrea Burkhart when she interviewed him, that's not the case. This man has been doing this and lying and fabricating evidence in cases, ones that I would consider stupid shit. But he has to even out every score. If this man doesn't go to prison and nothing happens to him, you don't think that this man's going to come for me? I'm the only one out here speaking and spitting actually like, hey, why isn't anybody considering, if you want to talk about people's character and who these fucking people are, why is nobody talking about who the fuck Turtleboy is? Turtleboy is not some good person. Turtleboy is not some good man. I just think it's laughable. Karen Reed freed Karen motherfucking Reed. Karen Reed had one of the best defenses that money could buy, and had the experts needed to overcome a huge digital fucking like problem for Karen. And that's the backing up and the phone. And unless you want to say that you dropped him off somewhere else and he's getting out of your car right then, that's a problem. And when I was watching trial 2 and the way that Hank Brennan went about it, it's like DNA. You need the digital data you need to account for. Though that pocket state shit, people want to talk about Faraday bags. How the fuck it would have come out of a pocket to put it in one, and it does not leave pocket state. That's the problem for me with that. So that you can just throw out the fucking window. The other problem for me is when you lay it out on a timeline and you're talking about seconds. And that's why I was such a proponent of look at when Karen Reed first said that she pulls up to a house and there's no lights. It looks like nobody's home. There's no one there. Would that be what 34 Fairview looked like that night? No, it would not. And look at where his steps were. And Karen Reed never talked about the ways and never talked about that until after the first trial. And then she got interviewed after the first trial. And then she was saying things like, yeah, John told me. And I remember John pumping it into his, GPS. I'm thinking, what the fuck are you talking about, man? Why do you keep saying all this shit? Do you understand? She does not make a text or a phone call while she is on that property. That's a problem for me. Because that's just not Karen Reed's behavior. Karen Reed's the person that calls and texts you like she did all day that day. And like she did all night that night. So you're going to sit here and tell me that she sat in a car for 10 minutes when her boyfriend was just supposed to go up to the door, make sure that they were invited and come back out, like she said. She did an interview and she said that I didn't text him, but I called him. Well, go look at the damn timeline. Her first call is not until 12:33 and a hell of a lot of seconds. She's not at that house. It's impossible. To call that number, his number, and be at that house, you'd have to do that at 12:29, 12:20, 12:30. Because she has to be on the Wi-Fi at 12:36. And you know what? I spent hours one day looking to see when Karen Reed's team was provided the discovery that was about the router of John O'Keefe's, his Wi-Fi. because I'm like, how the fuck would Alan Jackson ever be even thinking that when he's looking at the phone records and he's looking at that next to each other, he would know that there is no way in hell, Karen, that you made this call at 12:33 and you're on the Wi-Fi at 12:36. So we're not saying that in any interview because that's just ridiculous. You cannot teleport. Or you might want to dig into possibly is that timing on the on the Wi-Fi off on that like look at the back end of that. But there's a problem there. But the digital evidence is really, really interesting in this case, to the point that if you don't have Michael Proctor doing what he did and being just all, and I don't know if half of it is because you have what's his name, David Yannetti, a couple days after she's arraigned, going and talking to the media and saying that this was, he came across as basically saying that there is no intent, there's no intent here. This is not what it is, blah, blah, blah. Not saying my fucking client's framed. So, and then Karen Reed's not saying anything. David Yannetti's not doing anything. Nobody's filing any motions or anything. And so an extended period of time goes where there's just no one doing anything as far as like the defense until they put in a motion to try to get Brian Albert's shit back in September of 2022. And that was right after the hiring of Alan Jackson, because Karen Reed was then she was charged for murder in June of 2022. And I think it's ridiculous that she was charged with murder. Okay. And I believe that they charge her with that because, like, here we're going to make this to plead this out. But hey, if you go back and look at the timeline, but just to sit here and try to rewrite history with this fucking shit, I just don't have any respect for this. So an anti-slap motion is addressed in two stages. At the first stage, the motion's proponent here, Aidan Kearney, must make a threshold showing through the pleadings and the affidavits that the claims against him are based on his petitioning activities alone and have no substantial basis other than or in addition to the petitioning activities. You guys, there is no fucking way, no way that you can say that what he did to Juliana Nagel, Colin Albert, I'm sorry, but even Allie McCabe, Jennifer McCabe, and that's how reckless it was putting that motion out. Alan Jackson not sealing those exhibits, but that was part of it. And doing all that before you would get to the bottom of it, as far as with Richard Green saying, okay, there's something up here. Okay, like, look at this. But they were like, oh my God, no, we need to run with this and we need to use it as a PR campaign. Well, guess what? There was a glitch in Cellbrite. That's the truth. And you need to read Cyre's, or just go get your hands on just that chapter. Maybe I'll ask him if I can just release that chapter because people need to see that shit. That never fucking happened. That Google search at 227 did not happen. Nobody is going into any courtroom and testifying to that. I can promise you. I can guarantee it. And if you do think that you're going to get some hack to go in there and testify on that ground, holy shit, who the House defendants or the plaintiffs are going to have multiple people coming in there and showing exactly this, that, and the other, that it did not. And I think that another great thing is to get Cyre, shit, he's over here. He laid out Jennifer McCabe's behavioral fusion part of it, and it's amazing work. It's amazing work to show that the behavioral aspect is missing from, if and in fact it's true, then you would expect to see certain things that this supposed soccer mom would be doing at 2:27, at 2 o'clock in the morning, at 1:30. And just none of it was necessary. Just rewind everything back. Was any of this necessary? Go ham at these fucking detectives. Go ham at the... Why wasn't Canton Police Department being fucking like totally blasted? I want to know that. I truly want to know why the Canton Police Department was not absolutely blasted. And how you... Because go watch my coverage. Go watch every single episode. I'm pointing out stuff about the Canton Police first responding officers and their reports back in the day. And I'm like, nobody wanted to point out the fact that Sean Good just happened to manage to get into vehicles at different times and strategically place dash cams so they could not see stuff. Nobody thought that wasn't Proctor. But Sean Good knew that Proctor would come on, right? So, and I'm over here saying, go back to the shoe, the planting of the shoe. Like, where was the shoe? Go look at that side-by-side picture. Why aren't you showing how there was no shoe there? If you really want to talk about it. And who didn't rope off the crime scene, even if you don't want to use a yellow tape? Why didn't you have a cop just sitting out there? Jen McCabe didn't do that. Brian Albert didn't do that. Higgins, none of these. This is all Canton Police Department. And everybody thinks that they're doing it for, these witnesses. And it's just like, they do it for themselves. They do it for themselves. And they just suck at their jobs. The anti-SLAPP law provides that if a court grants a special motion to dismiss, it shall award the moving party costs and reasonable attorney fees. Plaintiff's claims against Aidan Kearney are based solely on his petitioning acts. This is a big old plaintiff claims against Aidan Kearney are based on statements and acts that fall well within the broad ambit of anti-SLAPP laws protections for a party's exercise of his right of petition. You have got to be kidding me. How is going to kids' games a part of the petitioning? How is calling somebody murderers part of the petitioning? I don't think so either, right? Aidan Kearney is being sued solely for writing and speaking about the evidence in a pending criminal prosecution. Really? Because chicken parm, the bloody pizza sauce, that's the evidence in a criminal case? Saying you're going to go to Colin Albert's every single practice, go to his outside his dorm room and everything that fucking he said, that's the evidence. I mean, this is just hilarious. So it was strictly about the evidence in a pending criminal prosecution, rallying public opposition to the proceeding. No, he was not. You don't get to say that in a couple sentences. That's what, yeah, guys, this shouldn't go to trial, man. And that absolves you of everything else you just did for 3 hours. That one sentence does not absolve you from what the fuck you just did for 3 hours. I mean, come on. Rallying public opposition to the proceeding. Reporting on facts. Jesus Christ. He wasn't reporting on facts. What facts was he reporting on? Reporting on facts that were likely to and did inspire public participation in the matter. And for arguing that authorities should charge plaintiffs, not Karen Reed, with the underlying crime. All of that conduct is protected petitioning activity. I said, if this was all that he did, then sure, yeah. Absolutely. If that's all that he did, absolutely. But that's just not the facts. That's not true. I love how Plyle wants to come in here and cherry pick and think that this is going to, I mean, Aidan, I can only imagine how much money you spent on it, but there's no way that this is going through. The definition of a party's exercise of its right of petition in the anti-SLAPP law is very broad. It includes several elements that squarely apply to Aidan Kearney's alleged speech. What do you mean alleged speech? It's fucking recorded. Alleged speech. His speech and actions. He recorded himself committing crimes. This is what I think also. So let me get this straight. Aidan Kearney has criminal charges. So what do they think? That they're going to dismiss this on anti-SLAPP? But what about the witness intimidation charges? You don't think that he witness intimidated? He 1000% witness intimidated. And that's why it's not going to get dismissed. It includes several elements that squarely apply to Aidan Kearney's alleged speech and actions here, to include any written or oral statement made in connection with an issue under consideration or review by a legislative, executive, or judicial body. What was under review for any of these witnesses? Any statement reasonably likely to encourage consideration or review of an issue by a legislative, executive, or judicial body. Any statement reasonably likely. So that's where I thought the best part about the federal investigation. The federal investigation was never on the witnesses. It was on the government. But guess what Aidan Kearney did? He used the federal investigation to fake it and make it seem like it was, and he weaponized it to go at and witness intimidate the witnesses. That's what's so egregious for me. And I've been screaming that. Absolutely screaming that. In order to determine if statements are petitioning, courts consider them in the overall context in which they were made. Exactly. Exactly. Take the context of all of it. You went too far, Turtleboy. I would never. Anybody that would show up at one of his kids' games and to do this to his kids, I'd be the first person to fucking blast your motherfucking ass. Any person that did the extra shit that Aidan Kearney did, if they did that to, him or his family or whatever, I'd be the first person to say, what the fuck is wrong with you? Two wrongs don't make a right, number one, but you're no different than he would be, and you're wrong. And I'd be backing Aidan Kearney. But it's actually the opposite. I've seen him weaponize and use his children and fake his own text messages and own posts on the internet and make him seem like they're coming from a person that he has a lawsuit with, so that he can go to the courts and say that this man is trying to say that he's acting like this man writes all this shit, has his mods go and do all this shit so that he can then take it and sends it to his attorney because then he took it to the courts. You got to be fucking kidding me. Yeah, that's what Aidan Kearney does. Who writes and takes their own pictures of their kid, puts them on the internet and says how they're going to have fun with them as like that's nuts. Also that a civil case could get dropped, or what he thought let me get an order on this guy. I got to show him how, let me muddy up his, waters. Next is Aidan Kearney's writings and statements constituted petitioning first and foremost because they were reasonably likely to enlist public participation. I said public participation to do what? Call people murderers? Concerning the O'Keefe killing and the Karen Reed prosecution, Kearney identified what he believed to be a massive travesty of justice, explained in detail the reasons for that conclusion. No, he explained Karen Reed's reasons, and inspired his hundreds of thousands of followers. He didn't have that then. He didn't have these hundreds of thousands of followers then. Okay? He encouraged hundreds of thousands of followers to take action to stop it, including by emailing and protesting against DA Morrissey and the police, protesting at the courthouse, and participating in public standouts against the prosecution. I said, what about the witnesses' homes? What about the ball fields? How come he wasn't telling people to go there? How come he went and he used a fake email, made a fake name? How come, again, if why would you have to do any of that? If what you were doing is perfectly legal and fine, I don't need to have my friend go and make a fake email to buy tickets under a fake name. That's premeditated. That means you thought through this because you were like, let's take precautions. For what? We got to make sure that we don't flag it, like who's coming, because then I won't even be able to get in there. So we have to make sure that I can get in there. So we have to have fake names so that we can even just get into the motherfucking, game. That's fucked up. That's coordination. That's collusion. And he says, who do you think told me to ask you that question, Jen? Karen. Like, what the fuck? He tried to get the witnesses to change their testimony to what he wanted them to say. He was just trying to he was trying to flex and say, watch what I can do. Alan Jackson, like, I'm your fucking bitch boy. I'm your errand boy. I got you. We're going to go all the way top. Like, yep. And then, oh man, you're going to be famous from this, Aidan. And then you break the story and blah, blah, blah. You're going to do this. Hey, I really need you to start talking about the FBI stuff so I can go ahead and use it in court. Hello. Oh, fucks. I wasn't too happy to be donating to something that I was lied to about. But right here. So here, Aidan Kearney's articles, videos, and actions plainly were intended to increase the amount and tenor of coverage around the Karen Reed case. No, actually, he was fangirling. Him driving to go to his first Karen Reed hearing, he wore his Turtleboy suit. And he was fangirling over, like, Dateline's going to be there, man. And I got to make sure everybody knows who Turtleboy is. And I'm going to be on one of their episodes. I mean, this was not about, come on out here. This was about me. I'm putting the camera on me. Like, he's showing, Alan Jackson. And then he shows himself on May 3rd, like, like, this is... They also include implicit calls to the public to take action. In one of the earliest videos plaintiffs complain about, Aidan Carney states that anyone who cares about John O'Keefe should be, quote unquote, literally in front of the Massachusetts State Police headquarters or the Norfolk County District Attorney's office every single day with a megaphone making noise, demanding to know how these incompetent law enforcement agents screwed this up so badly. That's what you should have stuck with. And why there aren't immediate resignations. But guess what? This was all propaganda. All propaganda. It's all favor. This was, you know how many favors were pulled during this? Why did the FBI look into it in the first place? He repeatedly called the prosecution a harmful waste of time and resources and urged the authorities to prosecute the plaintiffs instead of Reed. What? No, he was urging the FBI to come in and arrest people. Actually, he wasn't urging anything like that. He was telling people that the FBI are about to arrest people. And the FBI's got this. Remember, the FBI don't hit and miss. There is no pure example of public participation than town meetings. And Aidan Carney didn't go to any of them except for one. Aidan Carney's statements also meet another element of the petitioning definition. They were made in connection with an issue under consideration or review by a judicial body. His statements were, quote unquote, made to influence, inform, or at the very least reach government bodies, either directly or indirectly. Get the fuck out of here. Who was he tagging in his posts? Who was he tagging on YouTube? Who was he trying to have on his channel, on his shows? Who does he ever have on as guests? How the fuck was he trying to reach government bodies? No, he was the one with the sauces saying that the feds got all this under control and the feds are coming for these witnesses. He knew the truth, though, about the FBI. And it was not into the witnesses, and it was into this investigation, the investigators. They were made in connection with an issue. His statements were made to influence, inform, or at the very least reach government bodies. I said, well, that's funny because where is he ever tagging those people in any of his episodes using the @ symbol, the hashtag symbol? He knows how to make contact on social media. Show me that. That's how this is how I would be arguing. Like, they were closely and rationally related to the proceedings, and they were in furtherance of the objective served by governmental consideration of the issue under review. He's so full of shit. This is so full of shit. The statements by Aidan Carney identified in the amended complaint were made after Reed had been charged with murder. They were related to the case. What? After she was charged with murder, they all were made to influence or at least reach judicial and executive officials, either directly or indirectly through participation by other members of the public. What? I have always followed true investigative journalism, so realized he was a fraud, but had no idea of the vile shit he was doing. The vile shit he's been doing for 10 years. Who the fuck would ever stay with someone like a Meredith? In the beginning, when somebody would to tell you when you're in jail, somebody tells you that this girl has a background that she that she has with this ex-boyfriend of hers. Think about this. Why the hell would anybody at that point in Aidan know, like, how, like, dude, I need to clear out my circle, right? Like, holy shit, everything just happened with Lindsay that he's trying to claim. He's the perpetual victim here. And then that's when you should realize that, no, Aidan Carney saw that as, oh my God, she's my fucking Patsy. He always knew that when anything ever went south, Meredith was being blamed. And he set up all that shit with Recordgate to frame fucking Meredith. In the timelines there. It's bad. It's fucking bad. It's there too. Clock it in. What's up, Lana? What's up, girl? Hope you're doing well. Have a shot for me. Jimmy speaks. Cheers. Yeah. Yeah, these are all the notes that I've made. I mean, he always knew who his, and then that was going to be, oh my God, see, Karen, everybody just does it. And she was hacking into my stuff and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I mean, he's still claiming that shit. He's just a liar. You cannot trust anything that the man says. He's just he's a pathological liar. And I just think that Alan Jackson had no idea that the man would blow off his own dick. He's like, Alan Jackson's got to be saying to himself, is this guy stupid? Like, he's willing to take himself down just to take, Karen or I down? Yeah. And that's when I just think when Alan Jackson realized, like, what a psycho this man is. Like, Tanya, the best thing he can do is to try to get a plea deal. Let's see. As Aidan Carney wrote on his website early on, the public advocacy campaign was intended to put public pressure on the DA's office and Judge Canone to remind them that there are millions of us watching their every move. We will not allow them to frame and prosecute an innocent woman for murder while her killers remain free. We will continue to make our voices heard until there is real justice for John O'Keefe. But remember, John O'Keefe does not even make your affidavit. Aidan Carney's words unintentionally echo those of Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes. Shut the fuck up. Get out of here. Fucking shit. In their amended complaint, plaintiffs allege that Aidan Carney continued to make statements accusing the plaintiffs of crimes. No, murder. After Reed was exonerated. These statements, too, meet the anti-SLAPP law's definition of petitioning because of their continued likelihood of enlisting public participation. And that's where I have my question. My question is public participation in what? Me calling them murderers too? You mean public participation in what? Like following the House defendants or Commonwealth witnesses civil suit? Like, had I ever known that, hey, guess what it takes to go be a lawyer? Gaslighting, okay? And don't worry if you bend the rules, because nobody is going to come after you because we're in this fucking secret society. We were all lawyers. We all went through law school. We know a lot of each other, blah, blah, and yada, yada, yada. But there is never sanctions. And until until these judges sanction attorneys for, like, here, you know what? You're not practicing for 3 months. You're not practicing for 6. I'm not saying to stripe their fucking, you're never practicing again. Okay. But nothing happens. What happens to anybody? Oh wait, that person can't use that piece of discovery. Fuck that. That's harming the client. But these judges, man, I'm just sick of the gaslighting. I'm sick of the lies. And that's just what it is. So these statements to meet the anti-SLAPP definition of petitioning because of their continued likelihood of enlisting public participation and because they are reasonably likely to encourage consideration or review of an issue by an executive body. So I can continue to call them murderers and that they were the really killers. They were acquitted. She was acquitted. And here it's like after Karen Read was exonerated, Karen Read was acquitted. Exonerated. Those are two totally different words. Exonerated. Karen Read was exonerated. No, Karen Read just can't face double jeopardy. She was acquitted. But exonerated? You guys. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Judges are ex-lawyers. That's why the big circle jerk will always continue. And I just feel like that's not that's not how that should happen. Because the criminal justice circle jerk is real, is so fucking real. But it should be a slap to all of our intelligence, you guys. These lawyers take things that people do and they twist it on purpose. They know that things aren't meant that way, but hey, I'm going to use it this way because I can, and this is how I'm going to go ahead and make my argument. That's some bullshit. But hey, is it really about truth and justice? No, it's about winning at all costs, right? But Aidan wants to remind us that there is no statute of limitations for murder. Well, guess what? There's also no statute of limitations for witness intimidation. And so Karen Read, literally after Turtleboy, in my opinion, is tried and he will be found guilty of some of those charges. That is a very, very heavy lineup to beat those charges, all of them, especially when you get back into a deliberating room. And what ends up happening is that those jurors are going to give the prosecution some of those charges just because. Do I think that that's how it should be? No. In this case, I mean, I think that he violated the statute and he recorded himself. I mean, it's him doing it. He's an idiot for doing that. But there was no investigation into him. Like, he committed crimes and he recorded himself doing it. There was no planting of evidence on him or anything like that. But here to say there is no statute of limitations for murder. And I just want to remind everybody that there is no statute of limitations for witness intimidation for murder case, because there is no statute of limitations for murder. And until you get to the 27th year, then that's where you have to bring to the table new evidence. I would agree with that. Also, I think that so it's just funny when they bring this up that there is no statute of limitations for murder and the O'Keefe killing remains within the 6-year statute of limitations for manslaughter. And it's like, yep. Kearney's continued statements accusing the plaintiffs of having killed O'Keefe are thus reasonably likely to encourage the investigation or filing of charges against them. Indeed, in one of the videos, plaintiffs identify as defamatory. Aidan Kearney states that he hoped the jury's unanimous acquittal of Reed would mean that, quote unquote, all of us can unite and demand that the Alberts and the McCabe's and Brian Higgins be held accountable for what they did to John O'Keefe. And then I just have to remind us, the feds came in and fucking looked into all of this. Where the fuck are they? Where are the feds? You guys act, Aidan, like the biggest argument that you have here, if you were on the opposite side of this was being looked at. This was being looked at the entire time by the fucking feds. And where are they? Where's the feds? What did it drum up? The feds had no problem doing the right thing with the Sandra Birchmore case, right? They got fucking creative and found a way to get that piece of shit. Where are the feds here? It's a problem. So this argument of saying that now we're asking people to look into it, it's like, what are you talking about? People have been looking into it since you've been reporting. Since you broke it to us, right, Aidan? Since your sources told you about it in April of 2023, that the feds, it's 3 years. Where they at, man? Where the fuck they at? They could get their hands on a lot of things. You don't think there's timing advance records? What could they get their hands on? Oh, man, another year had passed. Okay. No, there was no geofence. Okay. They can't get no CDRs. They got people's phone records. How about they didn't use CAS to look into where people were? I mean, why didn't the defense do, I don't know, some testing on all the shit, the spots of John that had his shoe, which I don't even know if that would even fly, because I mean, your shoe, what? There was no canine DNA on John's clothing. Do I think that it could have been there if the clothing was handled properly? No, I don't. Because before I ever started this case, we showed the pictures to two dudes that had no idea what case it was. And these are two dudes that are fucking top of the line. And we said, what does this look like to you? We took the color pictures of John O'Keefe. Both of them said an automobile accident. Like, it looks like something happened with a car, like being involved in some type of and we showed the arm, everything. And these were two of the top of the line people that are in law enforcement, and they train FBI people too. I was blown away. Blown away. Aidan Kearney states that in a vain attempt to distract from this conclusion, plaintiffs allege that Aidan Kearney had a commercial motive and profit model behind the statements. Abso-fucking-lutely, he did. Absolutely. And I want to know how many third-party subpoenas are going to go out. You know, what accounts were sending these turtle chats in that would purposely have a question or whatever is going to be read off, you know what I mean? And to purposely start a topic, or, but his shit's all by design. And so, yes, he came out and said it numerous times, like, fuck Karen Reed. She's not getting any money from these shirts. I am. What? However, the motive behind the petitioning activity is irrelevant at this initial stage of the anti-SLAPP. Instead, the focus solely is on the conduct complained of. And it's like, okay, sweet, awesome. A party may seek to invoke the powerful protections of the anti-SLAPP statute to protect speech, even if it involves a commercial motive, with only a limited relationship to issues of public concern. As such, allegations about Aidan Carney's profit motive are irrelevant. Nor does Aidan Carney use of name calling render his statements unprotected by the very broad definition of petitioning. There's a case that cites that. I'm looking into complaining that Aidan Carney referred to plaintiff Jennifer McCabe as Horseface, a Disney villain. Article 19 of the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights, which protects the right to petition the government, expressly envisions of politically active and engagement or engaged, even aggrieved and angry. Like, that's great. Nobody gives a fuck about that, Aidan. Although civility can and should be encouraged in political discourse, it cannot be required. The appeals court held that the anti-slap law protected a website operator who called the plaintiff a retired state trooper and a member of the Athol board a Nazi. The amended complaint now alleges 5 counts against Aidan Carney: defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligent infliction of emotional distress, civil conspiracy. There was definitely a conspiracy. And let's not kid ourselves here. This conspiracy, guys, it's just colluding. He likes to spin this shit. This is just Aidan Carney spinning and saying, "Oh, I was in fucking bed with and Arca and all that." No. You need to make a living. And when you saw that this case rendered all these people, okay, because of the holy shit which you put out, the 70 pages, right? It was that consumed your life and it was over. Why? I don't make any money talking about Turtleboy. I talk about this case because it's important. I talk about this case because I followed the Karen Reed case from the beginning. And this was a big part of, him. Then I didn't follow his reporting or anything like that. We were already on the case, but I'm saying him injecting himself and the claims and people having this opinion and thought of him because of how he has spun and this entire propaganda that they have done. It's ridiculous. But a correct and accurate timeline, when you look at one, then you see what he did to Karen Reed when he thought that he wasn't going to get his payout at the end. He had no problem taking everybody off, including his own dick, just blowing it off. Because I'm not going down alone. Because this man is an absolute fucking narcissistic piece of shit. He's reckless. He's dangerous. And he breaks the law. And he is very calculated in trying to set people up for something that he's about to go do. He's a fucking troll. He is no different than a Michael Proctor. Karen Reed went and got herself a Michael Proctor. And so Michael Proctor's a piece of shit. But just because Michael Proctor's a piece of shit and he's Karen Reed brought Michael Proctor to the table. He didn't do shit. And then when he was given all of these amazing, dude, can you imagine what you could have went and filed and you just did nothing? You did fucking nothing. Ted Daniels fucking double scooped you every step of the way because you refused to do any work. Karen, when's my next thing? Karen, where's my shit? Where's my shit, Karen? I'm out of fucking material, Karen. Don't make me start making shit up, Karen. Karen. The fuck out of here. I couldn't imagine writing Dan and Karen Moore saying that shit to them. No, I found everything out in their case and brought it to them. Oh, for fuck's sake. How do we know that Colin was in the house? In their count of civil conspiracy, plaintiffs allege that Kearney and Reed agreed to defame the plaintiffs and inflict emotional distress on them by publishing information suggesting that Reed was innocent and that the plaintiffs were guilty. An agreement carried out by Reed funneling information to Aidan Kearney for publication. That is exactly what the fuck happened. 1000%. Because otherwise, you're not bringing up and mentioning where so-and-so works named fucking Sarah Levinson. Why are you attacking Sarah fucking Levinson? Karen, you had how many drinks that night? You don't even remember where the fuck your boyfriend was. You go to the fucking waterfall when you get up in the morning. People were drinking. You don't think the people in that house were drinking? They've been drinking all fucking day. You think they're paying attention and staring out the fucking window? Not everybody is just like, this is not what people were doing then. To sit here and fucking go at Sarah Levinson and post her fucking, her being a nurse and her nursing license, how fucking dare this man? That's ridiculous. And he knew why he did that, so people would fucking go at this broad. That's crazy. That's wrong. That is absolutely like. And then Karen doesn't say, dude, like, what are you doing? Knock it off. Hey, these are witnesses in my case. I don't want them to think that we're witness intimidating or something like that. Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? No, she doesn't say shit. And I would have been really fucking nervous if I was her. Because you're no better than them when you act like them, if that's what you're claiming. So how the fuck do you have an argument, man? Hey, we're just going to beat them with the evidence. Look at this shit. You guys planted evidence. You guys are lying about when the car is towed, right? The hell's wrong with you people? Just two things can be true. But this man is not your fucking Messiah. This man is a fucking menace. He has no integrity. He was coming out proudly talking about cheating on his fucking wife. His kids have to watch all this shit down the road someday. What a great human my dad is. Fuck out of here. This isn't some role model. This isn't some, oh, he's in it for the better, you know, for the people. The fuck out of here. He's in this for him and always will be. He illegally recorded Karen Reed, and then they don't want to press charges. That's because it's fucking insanity. I laugh. But Karen Reed's going to literally have to go the rest of her life with this whole witness intimidation thing. I mean, Tully's affidavit was, dude, they had all this circumstantial shit until Aidan Kearney opened up his mouth and said that this is exactly what Alan Jackson did, which was give me the information. I report on it. And then Alan Jackson's such a genius that he went and fucking told the courts that he got the information from me. Yeah, he blew off his own dick like that. He came out and said that. And he knew exactly what he was doing when he said it. He can't control himself. Karen Reed can't press charges without dragging herself into the witness intimidation charges. I know. Think about it. Think about how crazy this is. Would you ever want to be around this person? Do you know what it's like to have such a liability on your hands? And when your life is on the line with certain different things? Like, you don't. They never thought that any of those signal messages would ever get out. And they got out. And I think it's interesting when you want to look at it, and Karen Reed's like, no, you're not having my phones, right? But yet you wanted all of their phones back then. And it's and Aidan's over here saying, if you guys have nothing to hide, who the fuck cares? Well, that's not how he talks now. How I'd be talking is straight from the gate is, no, privacy is a big thing. I don't think that you should be able to just go through somebody's phone. I actually believe in our rights. I fight for our rights. I believe in privacy. But witness intimidation, conspiring to commit witness intimidation, do I think that they met the grounds to actually be able to seize those phones and search just their messages? 1,000%. But that's it. Like, you don't get to go looking through, you're going to have to come up with another search warrant, because if it was to lead to something else. But their messages, any communication. And do I think that there should be a taint team? Yeah. There are no sources. Every single episode, he lied about who he was getting his information from. Every single episode, he lied about his communications and that he had none with the defense team. And the reason that he hates Gretchen Voss so bad is because Gretchen Voss outed his ass back in August of 2023 after they all had dinner with Matt Gutman in July. And Aidan Carney went to that dinner. It was Matt Gutman, Aidan Carney, Karen Reed, and Alan Jackson. That was in July of 2023. Then August is when the airing of that ABC special comes out, and Karen's talking on it. And Karen has said, and I don't understand this, and I can only imagine how the deposition went, which is showing all of her inconsistent statements that she's given in these interviews. It's because Gretchen Voss asked Aidan Carney about his relationship with the defense, because Matt Gutman blew the whistle on that. And then he lied to Gretchen Voss, and everybody was all lying over here and it's just like, dude, are you guys dumb? You guys just all went to dinner. Yeah, Atlanta, knowing all of this makes me rethink everything. Well, it should. It should make everybody rethink everything. This was the biggest fucking, like, why doesn't everybody just wait till the evidence comes out here in the civil case? I thought Turtleboy wanted to be sued. I thought Turtleboy was so excited to get on, Discovery and stuff like that. He, I can't wait for Discovery. I'm going to just show all this shit that, Jen McCabe did not make that Google search. And that was all they had. When you take that out of the equation, to now know that never happened, holy shit, does the digital evidence of her black box come way more into play when you want to talk about a digital timeline. Have you guys ever heard of railroading somebody? Do you guys know what railroading somebody truly is? It's when you try to, there's evidence already against somebody, right? But here, let's just, and it's somebody that's guilty, but let's just railroad a motherfucker and make more evidence. That's railroading somebody. I personally believe that Karen Reed was railroaded. That's what it's beginning to look like. Is that stuff that happened after the fact by fucking corrupt motherfucking people, aka your Proctors, your Sean Goods, that whole fucking Canton Police Department. the fact that Sean Good left his body dash cam on for then the supposed wellness check that went over to the, to see if the kids were there, to bring the dash cam and to put it right in on and zoom in on Karen Reed's, back dash or her back end. Proctor wasn't involved yet. Who was doing that though? Who was involved? These fucking idiots and the corrupt people need to go. But what if the corrupt people just went ahead and planted evidence against somebody that was just that they determined was already guilty, but here we're gonna enhance it. We're gonna enhance it after the fact, like a bunch of fucks. Think about that. at classic Clippy. She didn't search it at 227. It's pretty undisputed now. Yep. It's 1,000. I'll put my channel on it. Yes, there was, but think about this, guys. Your shoes you're walking all over the place. Somebody spits on the ground and you step in that spit. So I've looked at that from the standpoint of it would be better to go and look at the shirt and the DNA that would be on his shirt, because I just don't think that the shoes are going to hold as much weight as like his clothing. But once I saw them file this, guys, whether you want to say the plaintiffs or the House defendants, when they went ahead and sued, and you talk about a civil lawsuit, you are opening yourself up for everything and anything. Because in civil lawsuits, the discovery that happens and occurs, the things that we were able to get our hands on, like in the Jennifer Drake case, and we would have been able to get our hands on a ton more. So I'm curious of this third party subpoena power that's going to be taking place between these during this this civil battle, because stuff that wouldn't be deemed relevant in that criminal case, it changes here. And I just know that if you had a lot to hide, the last thing that you'd want to go do is sue somebody civilly, because you have no choice but to take the stand. Because you need to talk about your damages. You need to talk about what's happened to you. You also open your entire life up, your finance, everything, your phone, all that shit. So it's just, you don't go do that if you have a lot to hide. Even if you have a little bit to hide. Plaintiff's emotional distress count essentially duplicate their defamation claim. In both counts, the plaintiffs complain that Aidan Carney's acts of publishing statements accusing plaintiffs of crimes, acts that constitute petitioning activity, as explained above, it's never going to fly. Kearney's campaign of outrageous, cruel, and malicious lies created an unreasonable risk of causing the plaintiffs severe emotional distress. Where a defamation count is based solely on petitioning, the same must be true of emotional distress claims based on the same statements. They're citing a case dismissing plaintiff's claim for negligent infliction of emotional distress, where it grows out of the same nucleus of operative facts that spawn her defamation claim. So plaintiffs cannot avoid this conclusion by pointing to the allegations that Aidan Carney engaged in extreme and outrageous conduct, because even cursory scrutiny of those allegations show that they identify only petitioning. Completely disagree. You can write and say whatever the fuck you want. You can cite these fucking cases, but when you actually read the entire cases for what they actually do say, but we'll see. The video of the encounter shows, and this was the McCabe at a sporting event, and recorded this interaction on camera to publish on his communications platforms. Remember, though, this was after a big out of context thing here. It is imperative to understand the Jennifer McCabe went and tried to get a protection order through the courts. Aidan Carney was tipped off to that. Aidan Carney, knowing that Jen, it already was bothering Jen, right? And it was causing her this, that, and the other. Him knowing that then. He then goes live at the end of May, before he ever goes to this fucking game. And he says, oh, Jen, you shouldn't have went and done that. Now that I know that it bothers you, I'm going to do blah, 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 blah. What the fuck? That's a petitioning act? That's not a fucking petitioning act. But guess what? Jeff Piles, whatever the fuck he wants to go by, he leaves that part out, which is context. And that's exactly what you're not supposed to do. Okay. But this is how you get crushed in oral arguments. When you make your fucking briefs, this fucking shit right here, and you do this fluff shit, and you do not put stuff into context, and you cherry pick shit, this is why you get crushed in oral arguments. So everything's in context here, which the part that he's missing out is that Aidan Carney found out that Jen went and did something, right? Found out that something's bothering her. And he then does, a live to say that Jen, you should have never done that. Now that I know that now watch what I'm about to fucking do now. If you guys think that this is how people are supposed to behave and how people are supposed to use the internet, why do you think little kids are ending their lives? Remember bullying back in the day? It only happened at school. Once you got to leave school, it didn't happen anymore. I mean, it's sick what I see. So who great, you disagree with me on a way that I saw a case or whatever. But to call somebody names and to go fucking ham, and then when someone tries to dish it back to you to see oh, here this is what you do to people. Now let's see if you can take it, and you fucking cry like a little girl, right? Or you have to spin it. But why can't you just talk about the merits of something? Why can't you talk about, if you want to talk about someone's character and someone's background and how they got to this spot, you're going to have to talk about Aidan Carney and all the things that he's done. You just don't get to erase the man who he's been just because, oh my God, Karen Reed was fucking found not guilty. That does not absolve who the person is that Aidan Carney is. It has nothing to do. It's laughable. But anyways, here on page 19, Aidan Carney published the resulting video in furtherance of his quest to show Karen Reed's innocence. So again, let me back up and tell you this. McCabe at a sporting event. So for example, plaintiffs complain that Aidan Carney accosted Jennifer McCabe at a sporting event and recorded this interaction on camera to publish on his communications platform. But now that we know what he left out was what he said before he ever went to the game and how he even got into the game, how he lied. The video of the encounter shows that Aidan Carney sought to ask McCabe questions about her actions on the night in question. No, he went there to also ask Karen Reed's questions. Karen Reed provided that information. This is the game. You should go and ask her if she thought that she could outsmart Karen Reed. He admits it. The video of the encounter shows that Aidan Carney sought to ask McCabe questions about her actions on the night in question. Aidan Carney published the resulting video in furtherance of his quest to show Karen Reed's innocence and publication of McCabe's reaction to his questions was likely to spur public interest and participation. Look at these sick motherfuckers. This is how he writes it. Thus, the confrontation amounted to petitioning as broadly defined in GLC 59H. I think that's Karen. Karen Lana, you are spot on. Two things can be true at once. Karen Reed hit John. The vile cops planted evidence to make sure she went to prison. Turtleboy is beyond horrible. Yeah, absolutely. 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 And I think people should look into where Sean fucking Good and what the fuck he was up to. Sean Good's the one that leaves on that dash cam. I cannot believe that they wrote this. I posted the video of Jen's reaction so that I could get people to that I could get people involved. Involved in what? Cheering on? Involved in what? And guess what? All of that stuff that you did it for was the Google search, and the Google search never happened. And Jen McCabe kept her fucking cool, calm. She didn't say shit to you. She didn't do shit. You did that to a woman at a game where she's watching her kid play a game. If that's what people are cheering on and think's okay, then I know what kind of parent you are, and I know how your kid would behave, and that you'd be okay with your kid being one big fucking bully. Because none of that is that's disgusting. If anybody came and went to Turtleboy's kids' sporting event, this motherfucker would cry for fucking weeks, months, years. He'd have fake panic attacks. We don't have to worry about that, though. Everybody talks about how shitty these people are and how, like, whatever. It's funny that there's been nothing retaliatory done to Turtleboy by any of the Alberts, the McCabe's, the Julie Nagel. I mean, what? Turtleboy has literally gone to them for everything. They're not showing up at his fucking shit. They're not. What are they doing? It's pretty crazy. And then I think everybody should go back and listen to, maybe I'll even play it, the little clip. Listen to Paul O'Keefe's interview after trial 1. And then go back and watch all of Paul O'Keefe's texts with Aidan Carney. Okay? And this will never leave me. And so Paul says, we knew what happened that day because of how Karen was acting and how Karen left. She had her dad with her, her brother, and then she comes real quick, she's in the house, but then she left and they took the car in a blizzard. And now really truly think about this. Paul O'Keefe was like a brother-in-law to her. Like, that's the type of relationship. And then Aaron, right? And so this type of relationship, I mean, you wouldn't want to ask any questions about, hey, what the did you get to see him? Oh my God. Like, Paul, you don't understand. I dropped him off at the party and I left. And I was calling him, here, look at my phone. Like, look at all this stuff. Like, something doesn't make any sense. Like, what do you mean? Like, this doesn't make any sense. I was calling and calling and calling, like he wasn't answering. I have to tell you about something. I think something's wrong. I don't know if he got into it with Higgins because I have to tell you about something. I mean, that's your, like, you're close, like you're not gonna, this doesn't make any sense. Jen McCabe tried to tell me that I didn't drop John off there, or that like we went there but then we just left or something. Like, no. I came home, I dropped him there. Like, think about that, man. And I don't care. Like, I would start bawling if my fucking soon to be mother-in-law, or maybe she would never be my mother-in-law, but like somebody like, wait, you think I hit John? Wait, what? No, I bumped my car when I backed into by his car. It's got to be on the ring here. Let's look for it. I'm telling you, I hit his car. You know, but listen to what Paul Keefe says. Paul Keefe says that we knew what we knew because of how Karen acted and what Karen said to my wife and what Karen said to me. And it's just like, put yourself in the shoes. And so I'm like, okay, if I went, there's just, I'd be a wreck. I'd be so like in shock, whatever. And I would also like, just, why would I not want to be around them? And I have my family there, and just like, what the heck? I don't know. But nothing about, I don't give a fuck what Arca says. You want to know why? Because learn about how I feel about expert witnesses. Arca was only actually asked to, their first thing they ever were asked to do is to see if the throwing of the glass would shatter the glass. I mean, the taillight. Let's all go ahead and get everything that Arca was really supposed to do. And who was Arca hired by, and what was it designed to do, and what information did they only have, and how do you know what position John was in when he got hit? You guys, fluke things happen all the time. And it's just like, okay, well, if Arca says that if the car didn't hit him, right? Then did it do enough that I don't know, did he try to jump out of the way because the car went backwards for 24 miles per hour at X amount of length? Did he get out of the way, and did he stumble on that stupid ass curb because I've been there before, and did he trip down over it and then scrape his arm and hit his head? I'm just saying, things can happen. Fluke shit happens every day, but his phone, his phone's pocket state is awful. Awful evidence. That's all I have to say. That pocket state is awful for Karen Reed. And I would love to look more into that and see if there's any way that could be a glitch, because people talk about Faraday bags, people talking about, John being carried out and walked, placed over there. You guys, it's everything about his phone. You cannot carry a man because the steps are going to equate with that. Okay. Even if somebody knew, oh, here, let's hurry up and just grab his phone, you would have still had to take. You guys ever notice how he's a back pocket phone? Like, that's where he puts his phone, in his back pocket. But if you look, he always takes his phone out if he's going to go sit down. Look at all the video. And I think that there's, like I said, reasonable doubt. But it's to hear from, I don't know, the family. Listen to Paul's interview. In fact, you know what? I want to play a little bit of it. Can't get shit past my girl Lana. Right here, check. Here, let me just. I want to play just this little part of what Paul says, and I just think it's interesting. And I just think you should throw a wrench in there and say, like, well, what if there was other people that were planning on going there, or that they drove by? I don't know. If somebody was there, if somebody wants to go pick up a different officer. I mean, Paul O'Keefe interview. Here.
Never been intervened in this.
So
as far as a mistrial, yes, it's something we didn't want, obviously, but it's just a bump in the road, and like I said, we'll do it again. We'll do it as many times as we have to.
You'll be back in court every day for another long trial.
Absolutely.
How are your parents?
They're doing all right. That's more of my concern, is that they have to go through this again. I mean, I'll do it 10 more times if I have to, but I hate the fact that they have to go through this all again. We don't know where it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. But I mean, overall, they're doing okay.
Mm-hmm. And they have John's kids now too. Your sister's kids.
Yeah. So they're living in my brother's house in Canton. Raising my niece and nephew, who are 16 and 13. I wanted them to come down here and live with us, but my niece didn't want to leave Canton, didn't want to leave her friends, didn't want to leave her house, and kind of hard to force a kid who's been through as much as they've been through to kind of shake up their world, for I guess a third time.
Yeah. I mean, can you just talk about Kaylee and Patrick? I mean, they, because we didn't put them on camera or anything, of course, during the trial, I had a lot of people ask me.
I'm going to stick with the kids. So
something about it.
That's it.
They were drinking and arguing and fighting.
Do you feel comfortable telling me, just from all that you've learned over the last 2.5 years,
Here you go.
what you think happened that night?
Oh, we know what happened. We know that Johnny and Karen were arguing. It was towards the end of their relationship. Things weren't well. They were drinking and arguing and fighting, and in an intoxicated state of rage and jealousy, she just decided that she was going to do something about it, and put the car in reverse and ran him down and left him there to die. And we figured it out as soon as she left the house that day when she came over. We didn't talk to any investigators, state police, nobody. My mother had said, "Do you think she had something to do with this?" And I said, "We're not going to think like that." Went outside to the driveway to look at her car, and her car was gone. It was a blizzard. I knew what the driving conditions were like coming from the hospital to Canton, and I knew that they were going back to Dighton, which was a much further drive. Mm-hmm. So we put it together pretty quickly.
I was going to ask you that next. So you took the words out of my mouth. It was like, when did you realize? It was literally that morning.
Yeah, so I would say early afternoon when they came back to the house. She wanted to come over and see the kids. Didn't really interact with them at all. Was there for probably a total of 30 minutes. Didn't say much or anything. And half of her time was upstairs gathering her things. Then my wife spoke to her on the phone on their way back to Dighton. And she told my wife that just have to remember the bad times. And I don't think I'm ever going to talk to you guys again.
Was that phone call what made you sure of what had happened?
Absolutely, yeah. We already, like I said, we put the
pieces. So I don't know if I've ever said this, but think about when you're with, so everybody always has arguments. If you think about it like this, though, John and Karen were arguing that whole entire day. Okay. And the first time that they were ever together that day after she left the house that morning was when she walked into McCarthy's. And so everybody does this. And if you want to lie and say that you don't do this in your relationship, then that by means, go ahead. You're not going to, like, she walks in, they're around other people. They're in public. Okay. So I want you guys to think about this. The very first time that Karen and John are together and not in public, they went to McCarthy's, then they left there to walk across the street. Basically, it's a super quick walk. And then they're, at the waterfall bar, and then they're there again with people, around people. and then you leave there, and then that's your first time alone together, just you two, was in that vehicle. And what does everybody do? Bring up what happened earlier, okay? Because now we're alone for the first time. And so everything that we see on the camera, yep, that's how they were being. But then they get together for the first time of being alone. And it was in that drive going over there.
Together on our own, and that just really solidified it. You know, why would somebody say that? Why would someone say, you know, if you didn't do anything, why would you say you're never going to talk to us again? Or why do you have to remember the bad times? Almost like justifying what she did.
Right. How would you have expected her to act in that situation if she hadn't done something?
Good question.
More sad, empathetic.
Oh, that was a great follow-up. That was a great follow-up question. Well, how would you, so you just explained why this, but how would you expected her to act? So that was a really good follow-up question.
Something.
More sad, empathetic, sympathetic. But like I said, when she was at the house, she barely said a word. You know, she wanted to be there for the kids. My nephew came home. My niece was already home by the time she got there, and her family arrived. And I sat down, my nephew in the other room. She sat right next to him. I explained to him that JJ's, you know, something happened and he's no longer with us. She didn't say a word. And right after that, she went upstairs and started gathering her belongings. And the next thing you know, they were gone.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's hard. It's a strange behavior.
Very strange.
When did the whole narrative of her version of events become known to you?
Well, if you remember her first arraignment in Stoughton District Court,
Yeah.
her attorney, David Unetti, had said this is a tragic accident. His client had no criminal intent. And then, you know, fast forward to, I guess, when Alan Jackson came on board. And, you know, they teamed up with a blogger to get their story that they concocted and put together and flood it out there. And people were only hearing one side of the story and coming to conclusions before actual evidence in the trial had actually begun. So a lot of the public was misinformed, you know, because they were only getting one side of the story. And, you know, we didn't come out and tell our side of the story or, you know, what we thought or knew happened. We've kept a low profile and have been silent through this whole ordeal. But, you know, now it's time. You know, now it's time for people to understand the truth. And, you know, the jurors, we thank them. They did a great job. They put in a lot of hours, paid a lot of attention, worked hard. Unfortunately, they weren't able to come to, you know, a consensus as far as a verdict goes. But, you know, we have another chance at it. And, you know, hopefully the jury that we get for the second time around will, you know, we'll see things more clearly.
So just so I'm clear, you think this all started when Alan Jackson showed up, and Karen, throughout the course of this trial, you think she knows what she did?
She knows exactly what she did. And she's trying to buy and lie her way out of this, you know, refusing to take accountability for her actions. Not only that, but pointing the finger and blaming innocent people.
Yeah, talk to me about that. I mean, because the thing is, the story on the defensive side is not just, oh, she didn't do it. It's she didn't do it, and all these other people did.
Yeah, I mean, she's pointing the finger at everybody. Everyone's lying except for her, according to her. I think we had 67 witnesses testify. 68, I'm sorry, testify. And according to them, they're all lying and they're not credible. And, you know, which, I mean, there's first responders that were just doing their job that day. Jen McCabe, Kerry Roberts, all they did was pick up the phone and help because she was asking for help.
Yeah, I mean, when people try to tell me, Lana, but it's like Karen could have just actually like said, fuck this, John, you're not coming home. I'm going home to, you know, where I live, right? And to sit here and say that they Carrie or Jen or any of these people controlled when Karen found the body, that's absolutely fucking wild to me. Karen, it wasn't like there was some slumber party. Karen's at the house You know, she could have went wherever the hell she wanted to go. She called these people.
And according to them, the only one telling the truth is her.
Right. So I don't even know what to call them. We have a variety of names. The pink people.
The pink people.
They turned on all those people first. Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe. But then how have they treated you guys over the course of the last year and a half?
Well, if you just go back to any video of us walking into court during pretrial hearings, yelling, screaming, calling us names, this day I don't know.
1,000.
I get messages all the time, whether through Facebook or other ways of communication, you know, telling me that I'm a moron, I'm stupid, and need to open my eyes and all this stuff. But I ignore those. I don't really care what people say to me because this isn't about me. This is about my brother. And I like to think I know a little bit more of what's going on in the case than, you know, people that are just reading stuff on the internet. And there's been things said about me, accusations about me, all types of things that just aren't true. But again, I just brush it off because this isn't about me.
So if these people buy into this big conspiracy, right, that Brian Albert's a murderer or whoever, okay, if they buy into that, why are they turning on you guys? Have that ever made sense to you?
Because we don't believe in a crazy conspiracy theory that holds no merit, no evidence. I mean, we know these people. I mean, Jen McCabe has been a family friend of ours. She was friends with my sister. We've known her for over 10 years. She was very helpful with, you know, picking Kaylee up to and fro.
When Aidan Carney started saying that Jen McCabe was in on it from the moment that she starts blowing up his phone and doing all this stuff, I'm like, no, actually, that's the sign. Like, that's what someone does when, like, you just talk to them and they say, like, hey, I'll be there in a minute. I'm like, it's like, hello, where are you? Like, what are you doing? Like, go through all of that stuff. Hello, where are you? Like, what are you doing? That isn't somebody that's immediate, like, oh my God, it kicked in and Jen McCabe's doing this.
Took over raising the kids. Carrie Roberts we've known for a very, very long time, right? And at the time, she didn't really know Jen McCabe or any of the McCabes or Alberts. And her testimony corroborated everything that Jen said. And the defense, I think, was scared of her and didn't want to ask her any questions. They just wanted her off the stand. And
that always bothered me, guys. That always bothered me. I said, why wouldn't you cross Carrie Roberts? You know, what are you doing? Why aren't you tracking down John's cell phone? They didn't do anything like that in the first trial.
The negative or hate that's directed towards me, mostly me and my mother, is because we support these people who are being falsely accused of something they didn't do, right? And their lives have been turned upside down and partially ruined. You know, Colin Albert, who was a 17-year-old kid at the time, his life has been turned upside down and ruined. I've gotten to know the Alberts through all this, and they're all good people. So just because we don't believe in a crazy conspiracy theory and we believe that Karen Read is guilty of killing my brother, you know, they take it on us.
Doesn't it feel sometimes like your brother's forgotten in all of this?
Absolutely, all the time. It's turned into the Karen Read show. You know, she walks through a crowd that cheers her on. She goes out in public, takes pictures, signs autographs. She's just living her life like nothing's ever happened. And meanwhile, my brother's been gone for almost 2.5 years. And I just want people to go back to who the victim is in this. It's not her. It's my brother.
Yeah.
What do you want people to know about John? You call him Johnny. Kids call him JJ.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my older brother. So, I mean, generous, loyal, sometimes a pain in the ass to me. I'm sorry, pain in the butt to me.
You can say pain in the ass.
You know, just because he was my older brother, but he just was there if you needed him. Took care of the people that he loved. Good-hearted guy who didn't deserve any of this. You know, he rearranged and uprooted his life. Went from a single the bachelor lifestyle living in Boston to moving into instant dad role. And you know, that's something that obviously everyone admires him the most for, and I do too. You know, it wasn't easy for him at the beginning, but you know, he learned to figure it out, and you know, we all helped as much as we could without getting in the way. Just an overall good guy.
And I assume he chose to do that, right? I mean, your sister's situation is
So
unimaginable.
sad.
Yeah. So then, well, after my brother-in-law passed away, we had to figure out, all right, what do we do? And at the time, my wife and I were like, all right, we'll take them in. At the time, we had a 3-year-old and an 8-month-old. So we were trying to figure out how are we gonna do this? Our house was small. We didn't really want to live in the house that they both passed away in, but we were trying to figure it out the best way possible. And then Johnny just stepped up one day and just said, I got it.
Wow.
And then pretty much moved in the next day and took it from there for 8 years.
So there's a reason that's why so many people describe that that's what they admired about him.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
stepped up.
a selfless act, changing your life, to take care of his family and people he loves.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, that's him in a nutshell.
I know I asked you how your mom's doing already or how your parents are doing, but I just can't imagine for her losing 2 kids.
Yeah.
Is she like a different person now?
She's a strong woman. I'll give her that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's imaginable, just to lose them in the ways that she did. My sister suffering for 5.5 months with brain cancer.
Yeah.
But at least I had the opportunity to say goodbye. And then, my brother just being taken from us so quickly and senselessly. I know somehow she keeps it all together. My father, quiet, kind of keeps to himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, overall, what they've gone through it's unfair,
Yeah.
unimaginable. But they're strong and they keep moving forward. And just same thing, they do what they have to do to take care of the family.
I have to ask you, we got ushered out of the courtroom pretty quickly on Monday. You had a little exchange with Karen. Do you mind? What happened there?
So throughout the trial, she likes to look at me and smirk. She's never once made eye contact with my wife, Erin. So when the mistrial was announced, she turned and looked right at Erin and gave her a smirk, and then went over and hugging and celebrating to some extent. I just said, you're not done yet.
Did she say something back?
No, but I mean, it was an emotional day, emotional moment, being in that courtroom, sitting so closely, and that's something that she wanted.
Yeah, can you talk about that? I mean, the courtroom switch, we know all the legal reasons why it happened, but you guys were like arm's length from her for the entire trial.
Yep. I guess after a while, you just got used to it, but yeah, showing up every day, sitting that close to the person that took my brother away from us, it was not easy. It took a lot to not say anything, but again, it wasn't about me. We were there for one purpose and one purpose only, and that's to get justice for Johnny.
What did Adam and Laura say to you guys afterwards? Like, what, looking ahead?
Yeah, I mean, they were disappointed in the outcome, but like Adam said, he goes, we're just going to do it again. He goes, I'll start tomorrow. So they're confident. They have the truth on their side. Unfortunately, if you pay high-powered attorneys enough and put enough lies out there, you start influencing people to the point where there's just no turning back. I think people just don't want to admit that they were wrong or duped. But
I think some questions should have been asked about the investigation, because John O'Keefe deserved way better. And if this investigation would have been handled so differently and by the book, that's giving John a chance. Without doing that, you're not giving John a chance to get justice, to however this happened. And again, is there a potential of being a fluke accident? I mean,
they're confident, and we're going to go at it again.
He being Adam has been like, he's kept to himself a lot, similar to you guys over the course of this.
Yep.
Do you think that's been hard?
I'm sure it's been extremely hard on him. He's not the type that looks at social media or pays attention to that stuff. He just keeps his head down and does his job.
Good for him.
He's not a flashy attorney that wants to be on camera all the time and have press conferences on the stairs like some people. He's just a hardworking, I guess nose to the grindstone kind of guy, and just does his job. It's a very difficult job, but he's never once really complained about it, to us anyway.
Yeah.
I know it's hard on him. I know it's hard on Laura. I know it's been hard on everyone who's been involved in this, but everyone's determined that we're just going to do it again.
Has your circle of like the people who support you guys, has it grown? Has it gotten smaller over the course of all the noise outside of this?
So for me personally, I've kept my circle smaller. People that you were friends with or haven't seen in a while, you just don't know where their where their mind's at,
Yeah.
what they believe. So we've been forced to become very kind of like defensive, not as outgoing as we normally would be. But I think recently I think we're gaining some more support. I think people have been afraid, to show up to court and I guess counter protest to the people that are outside. I think people have been in fear, but I think that's starting to turn. I think people want justice. They don't want this influence of social media and public perception based off of lies to win or to take control of this.
Do you want people to show up with?
We'll take all the support we can get.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, we're not going to turn anybody away. I mean, every time we go to court, we're kind of portrayed as the bad guys.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's, we lost a loved one.
It's fucking crazy.
But somehow we're still, I guess, vilified for just not believing in a crazy conspiracy.
Yeah. On that note, was it hard for you at all? I mean, there were certainly some moments in the case where there were weak spots exposed, right? Like I think about the solo cups and Trooper Proctor, who now is
Yes.
facing job consequences as a result of this. What was it like for you to listen to those moments that weren't necessarily benefiting the state's case?
Well, as far as at the very early stages, I mean, a crime scene during a blizzard can't be an easy thing to navigate. And yet, they found evidence, they found a sneaker, they found pieces of taillight. Obviously you're not going to see everything under a couple feet of snow. So I think they improvised the best they could. Every investigation is going to be kind of scrutinized to some degree. But, they did what they had to do with what they had, and with the weather conditions being what they were. They just, like I said, had to improvise and do the best they could. As far as, Michael Proctor's comments, I mean, he even said, too, they were unprofessional, which we agree with. But, this guy, his life's been ruined, getting his personal cell phone, which was something that should never have happened. Josh Levy should never have been intervened in this. An FBI investigation was launched due to cherry-picked evidence or pieces of discovery that was only provided by the defense. Like this is
pretty unprecedented.
To not even speak to the Norfolk District Attorney's Office, not speak to the Mass Police to see what they have for discovery and evidence. Just to intervene himself in that way, and which casted, a shadow of doubt on the investigation. So I think he has a lot of questions that need to be answered.
Yeah. Do you get updates on that?
I do not. I do plan on trying to sit down with him at some point.
Yeah.
Whether I got a knock on the door, I sent him an email, but I'm sure I won't get a response. But if I have to go knock on the door and ask for a sit down, that's what I'll do.
Is there anything I haven't asked you about that you want to make sure people know?
In all this, I just want people to remember the actual victim. I think I mentioned it before that it's not the Karen Reed show.
Yeah.
This is about a good man whose life was taken way too soon and for selfish reasons, and has created a void in our life that was already an enormous void, but just made it even that much bigger. And I just want people to remember him and want him to get the justice he deserves and that we deserve. And that's Karen Reed going to prison.
So I'm going to leave you guys with this. You fucking pervert, John. You're a fucking pervert. How does one say that to John after he supposedly just got out of the car to go inside to check to see if they were invited? How in the world could that be? How come it wouldn't be, hey, John, what are you doing? I'm out here. Like, are we invited or not? Like, what's going on? I'm leaving. Like, what are you doing? But like, where is that? If you want to say fucking pervert after that, whatever, but where is the why you're calling him in the first place? Because especially if you're just also just going to drop him off because you're not staying because your stomach hurts, then you're just dropping him off and you're not waiting to find out if he is coming back to tell you that you're invited. That should matter to people. Okay. you would call somebody, and if they don't answer, right? And we all know that people text people, okay? Where are you? Like, what are you doing? Like, are we good to, like, are we even at the right place? So, that's what's missing from this. Why didn't Karen walk in with him? Go up there with him. Find out if you're not invited. I mean, come on. That part, okay? That should bother everybody. That's not a normal pattern of behavior. Karen Reed walked right in, had no problem meeting up John when he was going to be there with like his guy friend at McCarthy's. Then Karen Reed had no problem being the first one to walk into the bar to go to the waterfall bar. Walking in first. But that is not normal to not say, what the fuck? Where are you? Is this the right house? Why you would just be calling and screaming and calling somebody a pervert? That doesn't make sense. And if it makes sense to you, hey, awesome. Then I can only imagine how your relationships are. But there's no fucking way. If life is great and I'm just waiting in the car listening to my fucking music, jamming out, and I'm just waiting for, you know, my numb nuts partner to, hey, or like, I'm gonna be like looking and like looking also around. Like I got a guy's truck that's like bright, like the light should be like right in my fucking back end. I got 2 doors. I got all these lights should be on, and then I'm keeping an eye out for like Higgy Bear who's trying to get in my pants. Right? Come on, man. Okay, and it's just like, where was the question to ask, John? What are you doing? Like, where are you? Are you coming back out here? Are we staying? Are we going? Like, what's going on? So I would expect that in a text, and I would expect that in a call. And then if I'm going to leave, if I'm going to be the person that leaves a voicemail, I'm going to be like, and then I know where he's at. I don't have to ask where he's at because I know where he's at because I'm sitting right outside. Like I know this is right where he walked in. So then even later when she's home and she says, nobody knows where you're at, John. What do you mean nobody knows where you're at? What the fuck are you talking about? John, nobody knows where you're at. Go listen back to those voicemails. And it's just like, I don't know if all of the alcohol just hit her at once. Okay. People going in and out. Yes, Karen. Yes. People going in and out. Like, I mean, that how, like you got supposedly allegedly if they want to say Colin Albert was still there and you have all these people like you, it's a fucking Chinese fire drill with all these cars. Where Karen was and what she was describing was like she was at a house that there was nobody at, like up there at the Asians or some shit. She said, where the fuck are you? No, what? No, she didn't. Not her first voicemail. Her first voicemail was, fuck you, you fucking pervert. Like, it's like, whoa. And then listening to her talk in an interview saying that she called while she was at the residence. I meant, did she say that? Oh, I was about to say JC. I was like, yeah, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah, no, she doesn't say, where are you? She never says that once until she's at the house and an hour had gone by or however much time had gone by. I can go back and check. And she writes, nobody can get a hold of you. Like, nobody knows where you're at. That's what she said. Nobody knows where you're at. And who's nobody? What the fuck are you talking about? And that's where a part of me thought that, did Higgins stop by the house? You know? And is that why stuff was deleted off of the Ring? Because Higgins stopped by there? Because they didn't show, you know what I mean? Like, I don't fucking know. But nobody knows where you're at. You know where he's at. What the hell are you talking about? You left. Like, what do you mean nobody knows where you're at? But she should recall these and ask herself why she was saying this. And I'm telling you, it's because if Karen Reed is not guilty, it's because she dropped him off over there, or he got out of the car at Oakdale over there. And then that's what would make sense, which is like, she doesn't know where he's at. Fuck you, you fucking pervert. Like, and then she'd be like, nobody's around, you know? Because he was like, again, that's where all the movement was. That's where he starts taking his steps. That's where the fucking stairs are happening. And I'm over here like, Karen Reed's narrative doesn't match the evidence. That's all I have to say. And all I tried to give was, hey, you should have never talked, and you should actually looked at the evidence and said, wait a second. I've never been to the 34th area before. Is this even where I dropped him off at? Because this is, if you're telling me that all this shit was going on, there was a plow with a Jeep, and there's fucking cars coming and going. Like, I don't remember any of that at all. Like, she specifically says in an interview that it was pitch black. And then this is what happens when I put out that to say, hey, whatever was going over there in Hog Heaven where Lank lived, that's where John O'Keefe's taking all those steps if he's not in a vehicle that's going bumpity bump. And here's fucking Turtleboy. Oh my God, it's going to take everything and anything away from me and whatever. And oh, Alan Jackson and Karen think Lana's fucking nuts. It's like, fucking, what are you talking about? Don't push that, but don't push your fucking think you can speak for Karen and fucking Alan Jackson. You're an absolute idiot. You know how I know that you're an absolute idiot? Because who the fuck is facing all the felonies, motherfucker? See you on the next one. Peace. He's definitely going to prison.